emails wanting to know what my ab routine is, and I'm going to show you a couple routines that I go to, and I just switch back and forth between the routines, but I pretty much do the same things, but I just go back and forth. With that said, I just want to talk a little bit about the abs and the routines that I do and why I do the routines that I do. We're going to start with the deepest lying muscle, which is a TVA, transverse abdominis. Your abs are like layers. So the deepest layer would be the transverse abdominis, and it holds all your abdominal contents in. It's great for posture. It wraps completely around. It cinches your waist together. And if that is laxed, you're going to have a pooch. Everything is, I mean, if you think about it, that muscle is the foundation. That needs to be strengthened first, and then you add all these other routines as well. So if you're strengthening your TVA and then you work out the other ab layers, it is a foolproof. You will see results. So you have your TVA. You're going to be doing an exercise called a vacuum. I don't do that as part, you're not going to see that today. I don't do it as part of my ab routine. I do that throughout the day. I'll put a link to a blog that I write in depth about the TVA and why you should work it out, and also the different methods for working it out. It's called the vacuum exercise. The vacuum exercise is amazing. I do that throughout the day. I'd say every other day to every 2 days. I'm kind of maintaining what I have. If you're just starting out, you want to do it every day or every other day, 3 to 4 times. And you're going to hold as long as you can, and then increase the seconds as you go along, as you get stronger. I'm going to show you real quick the exercise that you should be doing outside of the gym, outside of doing any of these exercises. You do it while you're cooking, when you get out of the shower. Takes hardly any time at all. So set a timer, and I do about 4 rounds each time I do this. One of the methods is kneeling on your hands and knees. You're going to breathe in your muscle, breathe in your stomach. You know, some people breathe and their chest rises, but you're going to breathe in your stomach. So when you take in your air, your stomach is going to extend out, and then you're going to blow all the air out and really squeeze as well. Now at the same time, you're sort of doing a Kegel as well. So you're bringing everything up and everything in. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So on your hands and knees, breathe in your stomach. You're going to hold that for about 30, 40 seconds. You're going to feel it immediately. The other method that I do is up against the counter, kitchen counter, bathroom counter. You're going to put your hands up against the counter. I'm going to use this for now. And bring your feet back a little bit. Leaning up against the counter, you're going to do the same thing. Breathe into your stomach. And then you're going to push everything out. And once again, you're going to squeeze. Bring everything, almost like doing a Kegel, and bringing everything in. So here we go. You're going to hold that for the amount of time that you can. So that's the TVA. You should be doing that outside of these routines that I'm going to be showing you today. The rectus abdominis is the superficial layer. It basically gives people the 6-pack look, and you want to work that one out as well. Another thing that I do with my ab routines is I hit different angles of the muscles. The only muscles I do not work out in my ab routine are the obliques, and I will tell you why. I also wrote a blog about that. I'll put down at the bottom of the video. When you're building a muscle, and this happened to me from experience, this is the reason I'm saying this, a lot of people might not agree, but personally for me, I do not work the obliques. I used to use weight, do the side bends. I mean, hyperextension bench, I'm above here holding a plate. Well, I noticed that my waistline was getting bigger and boxier. So if you imagine these muscles are on the side, they're located here. You have your inner and outer obliques, they run opposite direction. And if you were to build that muscle and tighten it, you're going to notice, well, with any muscle, they're going to protrude just a little bit. Now, what happens, I have very prominent obliques. I don't work my obliques out at all. Is they will get a little bigger. And you don't want that for your waistline. With those protruding out, you start getting boxy up in here. I don't know if you notice, not to knock anyone, but I see some women and their abs are ripped, but they have this really blocky shape. You want some curve. So I don't recommend working out the obliques, but like I said, that's personal preference. That's what I do. Okay, then you get your rectus abdominis, your six pack, as I said earlier. You want to work that out as well. You're going to do the kneeling cable crunch, which I start every routine with my kneeling cable crunch. I have about 70 pounds, and that is really going to strengthen those abs. You want to add resistance. It's not going to get, you're not going to get huge. But you are going to make those abs a lot stronger. And then I do some lying leg lifts as well. I try to hit every angle. So once again, I do the vacuum for the TVA. You should be doing that outside of these routines. And then I really work that rectus abdominis. You also are sort of working the TVA. You're working different angles of stuff, but the real way to really isolate the TVA is the vacuum. But that and the rectus abdominis are the only ab exercises that I really try to work. I'm going to show you the kneeling cable crunch. I start every routine off with this. The reason why is this one I lift the most weight with. It's going to fatigue those ab muscles. So when I go on to the next exercise, they're challenging. They're a little more challenging. So a lot of people will use, and you'll notice if you see videos of people doing this exercise, they use this, which is fine. I personally don't like to use this cable, but if that's all they have at the gym, it's personal preference. You could use this. You're going to lock your hands behind your neck. You're not going to use your arms at all. You're only going to use your midsection to crunch in. Keep elbows in and just crunch. I like to use this only because I think this is supposed to be used for your triceps, but I prefer using it for my crunches here. So this one has a strap. I like to use this so I can use this part of my hand, really lock it in my arms, and then crunch down. So I'm going to show you how I do this. You want to make sure you're not right under it. You want a little room in the back. I like to crunch in as well. And for me, when my elbows are tucked in, what I know the ending point is, I like to touch the bench. Or if you're on the floor, this machine doesn't allow me to do that. You see a lot of people that can move the mechanism down where they can actually get on the floor and do that. I don't have that, so I have to use a bench. When you're doing this exercise, you're going to not use your arms, but really crunch down and in. And I like to touch my elbows to the bench and then go back up. You don't want to go all the way back like this, but you want to come up enough and then just for a second you can crunch back down. You want to hold it for a half a second or a second while you're doing this exercise. Okay, so if you don't have this equipment available, you can still do the kneeling cable crunch with some bands. These are, what are these? Body elastic bands. So if you have these bands, you can use these. And what's really good about these bands is on each one, it tells you the weight in comparison. So basically, this particular band, it says 13 pounds is like lifting 13 pounds of resistance. You can add them. On here I have a 19 and a 13 pound. Put it in your doorway. I don't have a doorway, so I'm going to show you how to use these if you were. You put it in your door. You have the handles here. You want to make sure that when you're bending down, there is enough slack to really, if you notice that I'm already in this position here, I'm already in the crunching position. So with this, I know I can get on the floor. Lock your arms or your hands behind your head, elbows in, and you're going to crunch. So that is another way to do these if you don't have the equipment. I do these circuit style, and I do 3 to 4 rounds, depending on how I'm feeling. So I'm going to show you the next exercise to add to this one. For this next exercise, I do leg raises, knees slightly bent, and the ball that I use has this, I don't know what you call it, but it keeps the ball from rolling away, so it stays in one place. So that means it's a little weighted. I can't tell you exactly how much it weighs, but it definitely is weighted. I'd say between 3 to 5 pounds. So you're going to take this ball. We're going to do leg lifts. Very important though, that you use proper form. The reason why I say that is you have to keep your back pressed up against the floor. I also have a technique that you can do to find out if you're doing this correct, and it keeps you from cheating. Like, it forces you to press your back to the floor, and I will put a link to that in the bottom underneath the video as well. I can't talk today. It's using a band. You bring the band underneath, and if you lift your lower back up, the band just goes flying out. So check that out. Now, I usually use or do between 20, 30 reps. With these, I gauge once again how tired I am. So you'll start off the first set being able to do more than you would in the 3rd or 4th set, depending on how many rounds you do. So knees slightly bent. I don't put my hands here. I put my hands behind my head. You don't want your back to lift up, or you don't want to be able to get your hand underneath your back. Really press and bring the pelvis up. Keep it in that position. So grab the ball. I like to touch the floor with the ball slightly and then back up. So that is the leg lift that I do. After that exercise, after the kneeling crunch, and then on to the next exercise. Okay, so on to your the leg lifts off the bench. When doing these, you want to make sure that you don't go lower than parallel, because if you go way down here like this, your back is going to automatically lift up, and you want your back pressed up against the bench. So when you're doing these, go no lower than right here, and then back up. And when you're bringing them up, really use those lower ab muscles. If you need to hold on to something, you can, but try not to. I find you kind of cheat a little bit when you're holding on, because you're using that to help lift yourself up. So I put my hands behind my head as I did on the floor, And I do around 20 to 40 of these, depending on how I feel. As soon as I do those, I go right into a leg lift to hip lift. With these, there's a couple ways you can do them. You can bring your legs up and then lift. And when you're lifting, you want to squeeze, but lower your hips down slowly. So it looks like this. You're going to do the whole thing together. You're going to do a leg lift. Try not to bring your feet way back here. You want to try to keep them, it's almost like you want to find a place in the ceiling, it's like you're touching. You want to bring your feet up to touch the ceiling. Another way that you can do this, the way that I like to do it, is when you're lifting your legs, think of it as a continuous movement. So you're going to lift your legs and then your hips up as one movement. So this is what that looks like. A little bit more advanced, and I usually can't do it that way around the third set. As I said, as the rounds go, you get fatigued a little bit. Okay, so that is my ab routine. You're going to do circuit style, 3 rounds, kneeling cable crunches, onto the lying leg lifts with the ball, onto the bench leg lifts, and then to the leg lift hip lift. You're going to do that for 3 rounds, 3 to 4 rounds, depending on how you're feeling. The second routine, it's not really a whole routine because it's a group of sort of the same exercises. The only thing different that I do is I will throw in, after doing the kneeling crunch, I will throw in an alternating ab toe touch. And I will show you what that exercise looks like. I grab a dumbbell, this one's 12 pounds, and I'm going to do alternating what I call ab toe touches. So you're bringing your leg up and your upper body, and you're basically touching your toe with the dumbbell, and I'll show you what that looks like. So lie down, the dumbbell's right behind you. You want to grab the dumbbell on each, like this, each side here, and as you come up, you're going to bring one leg up, touch, the other leg up, touch. Okay, this is what that looks like.